"This is the Lady Shireen," he told the raven. The bird bobbed its pale head up and down as if it were bowing. "Lady," it croaked. "Lady." The child's mouth gaped open. "It talks." "A few words. As I said, they are clever, these birds." "Clever bird, clever man, clever, clever fool," said Patchface, jangling. "Oh, clever, clever, clever fool," he began to sing. "The shadows come to dance, my lord, dance, my lord, dance, my lord," he sang, hopping from one foot to the other and back again. "The shadows come to stay, my lord, stay, my lord, stay, my lord." He jerked his head with each word, the bells in his antlers sending up a clangor. The white raven screamed and went flapping away to perch on the iron railing of the rookery stairs. Shireen seemed to grow smaller. "He sings that all the time. I told him to stop, but he won't. It makes me scared. Make him stop." This passage comes from the A Clash of Kings prologue, where Patchface is first introduced alongside Shireen and Maester Crescent. Neither of the latter two are able to get him to stop singing this song. This obviously scares Shireen a little bit because it's a pretty scary song, and it should scare the reader a little bit as well because we know that Patchface's songs have a lot of magical meaning and prophetic knowledge behind them. For example, when he says fool's blood, king's blood, blood on the maiden's thigh, we all know in hindsight he is talking about the Red Wedding. So it's natural to ask the question, what about his first song? The song that we just talked about. The one that he is singing front and center when he is introduced. The song where I think George would definitely like to hide a bit of prophetic meaning that will look different when the story is all wrapped up, if he was going to do that with Patchface as a character. Now, I think that it is pretty much universally agreed upon, and correctly so, that the shadows referenced in the song Patchface sings are in fact the others. And I have teased this before, and I will have to tease it again. We will have a whole episode later covering the whole idea that the others are in fact shadows, at least the others that we see in the prologue. They are always described as shadows. They are called cold shadows or white shadows. There's a ton of imagery linking the others to shadows. Patchface's song that we are talking about here is just another example of that. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that future video, but what we're going to do today is be marrying that concept that the others are the shadows referred to in Patchface's song with some things that we have already talked about in recent videos on this channel. Specifically the idea of bringing the others under guest right, as well as the idea that potentially, if the others are in fact weirwood-related spirits, they are a shadow emerged from the wood. They could potentially be put back into the weirwoods, and that could be the thing that they actually want in the end. Essentially, they want their home back. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, don't worry, there will be a playlist at the end to get you caught up, but one of the things that we have talked about so far is that there seems to be a lot of visions and symbolism around something to do with guest right or a feast with the dead. In the House of the Undying vision, Daenerys sees a king with the head of a wolf holding a leg of lamb in the way a king would wield a scepter, feasting with dead men. Now, a scepter is generally a royal source of power, or a symbol of power, rather. So when you are holding a leg of lamb, in the way a king would hold a scepter, it shows you are in some way wielding power with this leg of lamb. And the idea of guest right is that using food, and by feeding people, you can, in fact, welcome them into your home, protecting you from harm from them, protecting them from harm from you. And so if the gods respect guest right, and the others are the old gods or the cold gods, then it seems to reason that you could, in fact, perhaps bind these shadows into a peaceful state by bringing them under guest right somehow. We seem to get pretty explicit confirmation of this through Craster, who is very cocky about the fact that the others will not trouble him, only getting right with the gods can protect you, and he seems to be giving his babies, as well as potentially his sheep, to the others, right? It says Craster has no sheep and he has no sons, implying those are the things that he gives as his sacrifice. Now, why the others want sheep? There are different ideas that I have, but I don't want to go down those tangents in this specific video because they're not really well thought out yet. But the important thing to keep in mind is that we do have that imagery, right? The imagery of guest right with the others, this king with a wolf's head wielding a leg of lamb like a scepter and feasting with dead men would be a very good, strong symbol of that. You also have Theon, who has a vision or a dream about feasting with the dead Starks that could be seen as a magical dream because some of these Starks have not yet died, especially Robb and Greywind. So you get another little feast with the dead, but going right back to Patchface himself, Melisandre specifically believes that Patchface is dangerous because she sees him in her flames, and sometimes there are skulls about him and his lips are red with blood. So again, we have the direct imagery of Patchface surrounded by skulls eating something. So, with the idea that there is a potential solution to the problem of the others, if you can in fact bring them under guest right and then give them their home back, so that they can live within the trees peacefully as nature intended? Well, keeping all that in mind, suddenly Patchface's song hits a little differently, doesn't it? The shadows come to dance. The shadows come to stay. He is telling you what is going to happen when the problem is solved. You have to get the others under guest right and give them their place to stay. And I mean, this does kind of just track with what everyone sort of thought was going on with Patchface this entire time. Like, he knows what's going on, he just can't directly communicate it in a way that anyone around him can understand. It's like his curse, right? He has all of the answers. He's telling everyone about under the sea, this is what happens. And everyone's able to, in the fandom, piece these things together and sort of get a vague idea what he's talking about. And then only in hindsight does it become clear, oh yeah, this one was about the Red Wedding. I think that it will be obvious when we are done with the story that his first song, The Shadows Come to Dance, The Shadows Come to Stay, will in fact reference how the problem of the others could potentially be solved. What's more is it seems there is good reason to suggest that Patchface himself will play a critical role in this feast or in this bringing of the others under guest right. We have already mentioned that Melisandre often sees Patchface in her flames with skulls surrounding him as his lips are dripping. Silly Melisandre always misreading her visions. That was grease dribbling down his chin, not blood running down his chin, obviously. George loves grease dribbling down people's chins. You should know this, you're in his books. But there is, of course, more than just Melisandre seeing Patchface surrounded by skulls when they are talking about going on their expedition to Hardhome to try and bring the wildlings back to this side of the wall safely. They are talking about who could possibly lead the expedition, and no one wants to, for obvious reasons, and then Patchface speaks up and says that he will lead it, and they will march into the sea and out again, and ride seahorses, and mermaids will blow seashells to announce their coming. Now, I have heard it speculated before that the seahorses Patchface refers to are in fact the boats that they ride to Hardhome, and it will be similar to the show where they will ride to Hardhome and be attacked by the others, and some wildlings will come back with them. But even if Hardhome does in fact play out exactly like we saw in the television show, where as they are picking up the wildlings, the others attack, I really don't think there's any chance that Patchface is going to be involved in that. But we have already drawn the parallel throughout this series when we're talking about Jon's story and the others, and I'm far from the only one to draw this parallel. There is a parallel with allowing the others through to allowing the wildlings through, especially if the others are, as we have speculated, sympathetic in the fact that they are in some way needing to get the wall down so that they can get back to their homes. So what if instead of Patchface having a leadership role in bringing the wildlings from Hardhome back, he is doing the thing where under the sea is reference to death, which seems to be the case throughout Patchface's prophecies, and the seahorses are in fact the dead horses ridden by the others. And the horn that is blowing to announce their coming is either the Night's Watch blowing their horn as they would to signal the coming of the others, or it is in fact the Horn of Joramun that is being blown to announce their coming, as in the Horn of Joramun will be blown as the others arrive because the wall needs to come down. If there is in fact, upon the fall of the wall or upon the arrival of the others, if there is in fact this feast that seems to be foreshadowed, some way to bring the others under guest right, who better to have performing and taking some role in this feast than the creepiest little undead jester we have ever seen? Because yes, that's right. Another point of evidence for Patchface potentially having a role in this is the fact that he is likely undead. Many people have already speculated in the fandom that John needed to die so that the others can do something with his body, or so that in undeath he will have some sort of different type of spirit that will allow him to in some way control the others or work with the others, whatever you want to call it. There's, a million different theories about this stuff, but a lot of them rely on the idea that, yes, some sort of undead John will be able to have some sort of connection with the others because they are also dead or undead in some fashion, right? Their connection with the dead means that undead people will have a better time in some way communicating with them. However you want to draw that string, right? If that's a thing that you believe in and it applies to John in that way, well, it also would apply to Patchface. He was definitely under the water for so long that he drowned and was somehow back. He has been revived in a potentially similar way to the way we will see John revived, however that ends up working. So we've got our undead wolf-headed king who can wield his leg of lamb like a scepter, and we've got our undead jester, which is what you would exactly want if you were trying to have a feast with the dead. It all sort of is lining up for Patchface to potentially actually have an important role to play. I mean, imagine if, there is some creepy scene where, they're at the restored Night Fort, and the wall falls because the Horn of Joramun has blown, and you see the others on the other side, and then all of a sudden, instead of being scared, Patchface just dances out beyond the wall and starts doing a little song for the others. It'd be freaking creepy. I don't think that's exactly what'll happen, right? But, you can let your mind wander if you want to throw any ideas you have down in the comments what exactly sort of role Patchface could play, but, right, imagine the idea of him dancing out beyond the wall to parlay with the others, and then instead of dying, one of them takes a bite of whatever he offers or something, just something crazy like that, right? I don't actually know if I believe that this one will happen, but I do think that it's set up for there to be some sort of foreshadowing going in that direction if George wants to make that happen, right? I think there's a decent chance Patchface will burn with Shireen or die in that process somehow, but if he doesn't, I think his role and the reason he would be kept around is because he's going to have some sort of part in this creepy feast with the dead or a feast at the Night Fort that George is potentially setting up. So definitely let me know if there are any ideas you have for how this could work down in the comments. Be sure to subscribe if you have not, because we have a lot more stuff to talk about. I have a cool video coming about an implication of shadows being able to be bound by guest right. That's going to be the next video after this one that I think you guys will really enjoy, and I think is an original theory. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you all with something else very soon.